I finally started to will myself to play through Elden Ring. Um, and not all the way through, obviously, because what's time? And especially what is time when you're trying to play two MMOs simultaneously? We don't believe in time. Nah, man. What we have is depression. And so, yeah, but I've been slowly chipping away at Elden Ring finally after a year and a half after its release. Um, but it is very, very wonderful. I'm playing a pretty bog standard, at least bog standard for me. I think if I remember correctly, I was doing a Great Axe build on the account that I was playing on mainly. Um, and then yeah, and then also some like axe dual wielding. I have a thing for axes. Axes are so much fun.
Oh yes.
Um, and so yeah, I've been playing Unga Bunga. In Elden Ring, I finally was like, okay, I should start looking at builds and doing this and making progress. Made my way through Mr. Fell Omen. It's one of those fights that I kind of realize when you're like, oh wow, they really not dialed it up for the first boss. No, it's not that bad. You just once you get his attack patterns, or even better, once you know how to parry him, uh, he just sort of folds. Man folds like an omelet, and you're like, oh, that was easy, I guess.
Margit is actually one boss that I cannot click with. I can click with most boss fights in Elden Ring, but for some reason when it comes to Margit, I get so sloppy.
Yeah, I will say he has some very strange delays. Like, I think he was kind of a lot of people's first intro into Welcome to Elden Ring.
Mm.
Everybody here is actually a mechanical robot and does not move with the same gravity and fluidity that most humans do. Where he'll like do something that's a twirl, and you'll see his arm kind of lock short, and then he brings down his staff, and you're like, okay, so I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like holding a large staff at that angle would make my wrist really, really sore.
Well, it's not really the delays I have a problem with. It's his second phase. His first phase is fine, but once he gets into that stage where he's very fragile and you can't get close to him is what I can't stand, because really the best opportunities is to wait for him to jump up and slam and get a little slice on him, plus his little wind up where he'll charge. But if you're close enough to him, you could just simply get a few more hits on him. I think you probably know what I'm talking about. He lifts his cane up over his head, and if you're far enough away, he zooms towards you. That one is still there.
Away,
a good punish window for that one, but for the most part, you can't really get close to him because he's just gonna, excessively strike you.
I think that was the issue of like kind of how he's designed is it's not like it doesn't do a lot of damage, but it is definitely super irksome when it's happening. Is the way that he has pretty much the frame zero dagger. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Where with zero telegraph, zero movement, he'll suddenly just like finish an attack. You're like, cool, an opening, and then he suddenly teleports a dagger out of who knows where and slash you in the face just for the memes. And you're like, bro, it was my turn. As I'm sure you've heard that analogy. Souls games are actually just turn based.
That's
where you attack, they attack, you attack, they attack.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the biggest issues Elden Ring has. Is just a lot of poorly telegraphed attacks, and it's just a lot of people don't realize how important telegraph attacks are, because it's really satisfying when you can pick up on a read and properly evade and punish that attack. And then whenever people criticize telegraphs, I always question them. I'm like, okay, what do you mean by poorly telegraphed? And they usually cannot answer for some reason. I think what usually happens is that they're like, oh yeah, you can definitely tell when that attack's coming. I'm like, well, isn't that the point of having an attack telegraphed? I mean, I don't really understand your criticism here. I mean, I can understand maybe the telegraph being too long. That's the thing. But the fact that it's being telegraphed before it happens is how video game design should work, because you need to be able to read something and then follow up on it. And then you got another side of the bad telegraphed attacks is when it just happens suddenly. There's no telegraph. So
yeah, there's a really interesting interplay that Souls games, are obviously they're not always perfect, but they definitely do really good with. But there's an interplay between good telegraphs. There's good telegraphing, delaying, and overlong to the point that it just becomes easy and obvious telegraphing. Um, and so there's definitely an interplay of where it ends up being like where it remains fun and tense while keeping out of the zone of, as Donkey said, and you're okay with cursing here,
Oh, sure.
right?
Yeah.
Make sure. As Video Game Donkey says in one, video games need to find that balance between tough but fair and tough but fuck you. And that's kind of what the untelegraphed sort of thing is, where it's like, tough but fair is, I would say, like his big overhand swing, the one you're talking about, where if you're too far away, he'll do his twirling dash, where he'll run at you, he'll do one twirl, and then he'll do another swing. But if he's lifting up over his head, it gives you that choice. When you see that movement, you go, okay, do I stay close? And then that's a really good riposte window. If you get good at his riposte timings, you can just parry his bring down of that because it's pretty consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can back up and try and buy yourself a slightly easier riposte window, but also you might not get out of the end. So you have to actually kind of make some quick decision making. And so I think that's really cool. But yeah, that is a interesting sort of topic on its own of like, what bosses and what things mechanically across all games, not just Souls games, strike that really solid balance of good telegraphs that don't feel like hand holding, but also don't feel horrifically unfair, where they're that friend that throws the baseball at you and right before it hits you in the head, they go, "Hey, catch!"
I think the Castlevania 3D games for PS2 are really good at just having a good balance of everything. Some of them are a bit generous, but during my playthrough of Curse of Darkness, just going through there, seeing what's possible with the restrictions, I'm finding a lot of attacks very, very interesting to just walk out of the way from. I don't know if you saw my my Iron Golem no dodge, no damage challenge accomplishment. And,
was that on? I did actually just go through your channel a few days ago. Just curious to see what you've been uploading lately, because I like to stalk fellow YouTubers. But I did not see that video.
Yeah, it's a journey I've been on lately. Pretty much, my channel hasn't heard from me really for a month. I think my last video I was talking on was about turn-based games, and ever since then I've been on this whole discovery for stuff that just hasn't been explored, or I feel like hasn't been explored, because I'll go on YouTube and look it up saying, has this been done, has that been done? And I noticed that there's definitely obviously no damage runs for boss fights in Curse of Darkness. So I'm like, okay, what about no dodging? Let's see. But actually there are no videos, so as far as I know, I'm the only person that has no dodging, no damage on Curse of Darkness on YouTube, which is pretty cool. So I got that, but I only have 2 bosses so far. I need to jump back on and get more done. But I'm actually concentrating on Wolverine's Revenge, which is actually mind blowing right now, because it's the same thing. There's actually no videos of no damage runs in general for Wolverine's Revenge. Isn't that crazy?
Huh.
So
wild, honestly.
I've been going through, and so far I got 3 boss fights, and every boss fight's been very viable with the restrictions. Now it's just with no damage. I haven't done like the no dodge stuff, because I just don't really think that's viable because of the way the boss fights are designed, because they're designed in a very gimmicky framing. But you can accomplish them without taking damage, as far as I know. Because right now I'm on Juggernaut, and he's definitely viable for no damage. But let's see, with Sabretooth was definitely a very interesting study, because you can't just simply run around and wait for him to telegraph an attack. He just simply chases you, and he waits for you to do something. And so I had to figure out how I can. Okay, here's another thing. There's a lot of little twists and turns about how this game works. Okay, you cannot lock onto an enemy. You cannot manually do it. You have to engage in combat for you to lock onto an enemy. You can take the target lock off, but you cannot put it back on. The only way you can do that is for the enemy to attack you, or you gotta attack the enemy. It's very odd. I've never seen
that. How old was this game? That sounds like old school video game jank if I've ever heard of it.
This is 2003.
Oh yeah, that's old school video game jank right there.
I'm playing the game for the 20th anniversary of that game. It's my childhood game. I loved it. I cannot believe I beat it back then. I'm pretty sure it took me a year because I've been going through these levels. These levels are, I'm pretty sure they're impossible to go through without taking damage because you got to think about projectiles, the enemies that are shooting at you, and the ways the levels are designed. It is absolutely brutal. And I guess I think this is where I developed my preference for level design, because I'm like, whenever I see a level, I'm like, this is boring. I don't have anything coming at me all the time. And so I think I'm blaming Wolverine's Revenge for setting a standard so high for level design.
Jeez. Man, well, I'm only being attacked from 6 angles instead of all 8. Man, what a boring game.
I mean, I'm serious. I mean, whenever I'm playing Wolverine's Revenge, I'm like, man, this makes other games look so bland with their level design.
Man, yeah, I always kind of wonder that, of why a lot of games are so like kind and generous with the enemy overwhelm. I know a lot of times it's not enemies aren't as numerous because of hardware restrictions, where every enemy on there is VRAM being taken up. But there's still times where I'm like, dude, this game would be so great if there was more shit to fight at all times. That's all I want.
Mm-hmm. Now, there are some games where restrictions just don't work because the gameplay's too chaotic, and that's Twisted Metal and Rampage. I tried playing those games, and I really just don't think there's anything to salvage in terms of restrictions because, like I said, there's just too much going on to really put in something very skillfully precise. You know what I mean?
You craft like your own challenge run. Is that what you mean?
I'm sorry.
As in, like, when you say put in restriction, you mean like craft your own challenge run, like no hits, no.
Yeah, no damage, no. I mean, I guess really what you can do is just maybe go through it without healing, but I don't know. There's just a lot of luck involved, and I tend to kind of just walk away from just when it's heavily luck focused. Cause
bro, just say your prayer to RNGesus. That's how it usually works.
Oh no, I'm never blessed with the RNG Jesus. That's one reason why I never got into speedruns, because I'm like, yeah, my luck's not going to give me any favors. I'm just not very lucky when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have done some like dabbling in speedrunning. Mostly it's just been Skyrim, because I played so much gosh darn Skyrim in my life that I was like, hey, I might as well start speedrunning this. Not like I'm going to do anything else till 2026. Bethesda, take your sweet time on releasing Elder Scrolls 6. Don't mind me though. And so I just started, trying some Skyrim speedruns. Obviously nothing impressive. I'm still learning a lot of the tech and whatnot. My best run was like an hour and a half when the current world records are like 20 minutes. But hey, still pretty solid, when most people say, wait, Skyrim had an ending? So, yeah, for the most part, it's still all right. But yeah, I'm definitely still very much learning a lot about, what Skyrim and Skyrim speedrunning is about. But just the best way to think of speedrunning, even if you're like, I'm not very lucky, is just remember, infinite monkeys, infinite typewriters. Eventually, one of them's gonna write Shakespeare. Just keep on trying runs, and eventually you're gonna get that one run that is so incredibly lucky that you're like, well, I'm never beating this PR, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, it never hurts to get your own personal record. I mean, that's fun to do. So we got upcoming games. Which ones are you looking forward to? I mean, it could be this year or the beginning of next year.
Oh, I wish I could look forward to upcoming games. I can't. I am legally not allowed to look forward to upcoming games because I have a backlog of like 500 games and I don't know where to start. And I'm like, oh no, please stop releasing. Hey, video game industry, everybody collectively, let's just agree, we stop releasing games for just 1 year, okay? We just don't release anything.
Yeah.
Okay, when I get all caught up, and then you can start releasing it, whatever the hell you want again, okay? You guys clearly need all the time to keep working on this stuff anyways, since most AAA games are completely riddled with bugs and everything. So, you guys get more time to work on stuff. I get time to get caught up on the backlog, and everybody wins, right? And no, apparently they won't take me up on this offer because they want to make money or something. It's so dumb.
I had to take a break from Final Fantasy 16 because the story bloating is ridiculous, and it's not with the like directly the main campaign. It's just the in between. There's a lot of NPC jumping in that game where you just talk to an NPC and then they're like, "All right, time to talk to the next NPC," and it's just it's like that for like an hour, maybe. It's an hour of skipping and probably even more. You know, well, obviously more if you're listening to every single thing that they're saying. So I was paying attention to what they were saying because I was actually interested in the story. But after a while, I'm like, I'm just not even paying attention anymore.
Wait a minute. How did we get to this planet? Who is this person? What? Oh gosh, why are they trying to kiss my character? What the heck?
But the boss fights are pretty good. The combat's fun. So I've been having fun using restrictions against the hunts mainly because the campaign bosses are way too long and way too chaotic for me to really put a whole lot of time into. So I just focus on boss fights that last about 3 to 5 minutes. And at the very beginning, I was just using basic attacks, and then that started climbing up towards 10 minutes. And so I'm like, okay, I think I'll just start using abilities because I'm going to end up burning myself out like crazy.
Yeah, I've definitely been interested in it, but I have been trying to be very restrictive with myself on getting new games for no other reason than the fact that every time I want to buy a new game, I have to look at my backlog and name what year I bought every game that's on there. And if I can't name the year on any of them, or on at least one of them, then clearly I have too many games in my backlog and I need to be playing what I have and not getting new games to add to the backlog, because that is basically what will happen.
You should take a picture of your backlog and frame it and have Nosferatu pointing at it.
Yeah, literally. Just have him just, You sure? You sure you want to buy more games? No, Mr. Nosferatu, sir.
Ooh, my chair just made a huge squeak.
And on that topic, I very specifically, because I am a horrible person, I literally just today, because of GameStop's like buy one, get one sales, I picked up Wolong, that one like Chinese sort of Ghost of Tsushima-esque. I heard a lot of good things about it. Then Wild Hearts I picked up because a lot of people said it's like Monster Hunter, but not. And I like Monster Hunter. And then I picked up Jedi Survivor because, gosh darn it, if I don't want to play Jedi Dark Souls, you know?
Moving Out 2 comes out this month on the 15th, August 15th. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And then Armored Core, I'm waiting to see how that turns out. And I think that's going to be it. I don't think there's really anything else I want to get for the rest of the year.
On that topic, actually, I'm kind of curious, and that's a topic I want to transition to with this whole idea of what are they called? I just totally blanked. So there's a cat purring on my hand. With, I guess, titles and releases, I kind of want to get to that topic. Is like, how do you perceive sort of the content flow? And like, we can get to that later. Obviously, I just wanted to throw that out there so I remembered to get it out there so I didn't forget. Because I can forget things.
Okay.
Yes, hi cat. Yes, you're on my hand. But yeah. So you said Moving Out 2, that's the indie game, right? That's like,
yes.
Am I right? It's like an indie game, and I don't remember the premise of it. I know I've heard the name before, but I do not remember the premise. Is it one of those kind of like work life sim games where you have one goal, like, and it's moving furniture, moving stuff?
Yes, you're moving furniture and very very claustrophobic level designs. You got all kinds of unique and fun obstacles getting in your way of delivering. Sometimes you have animals that are preventing you from moving furniture into the truck. Sometimes you got chickens, turtles, and it can be as chaotic as you want. You can throw beds through the window. Of course, it's...
Oh, okay, yeah. And I remember that. Seeing some footage of that where it's like, oh, I needed to get this moved out, and there was this in my way, so I just threw the piano out the top story. And it's like, what? Don't do that.
Oh man, it's Yeah, it's a blast. I mean, it's kind of, if it wasn't for Overcooked, I wouldn't have given it any attention. So I have to thank Overcooked for getting me into the style of game because it's absolutely just a blast. Just that
Fantastic.
overview and top overview perspective, playing as these little tiny people, and the outfits for moving out too look even wackier. Like they removed one costume. They've been posting like cut content, which I think was a mistake because a lot of the cut costumes look really cool. Like one that they cut out was a pizza, a hand holding a pizza, and the pizza has a face on it. I'm like, why'd you cut that out? That looks amazing.
Why do you guys cut all the best stuff? What, is the anti-fun police living in your guys' like studio or?
Yeah, no, I even said that to him. I was like, come on, put that back in. What are you doing? I mean, maybe they'll put that into a DLC perhaps, but yeah, I think I've done everything. I didn't really do a completionist run on the DLC. I just kind of finished the levels and I haven't really gone back to do it perfectly because I just wanted to say that I finished it. That way, maybe later on I can go back, but maybe it won't have. I noticed that there's definitely a big advancement in the level design in the DLC, so I'm hoping that's a good sign that I mean, from the footage that I've seen so far, it looks like they're doing a really good job advancing the level design, which is great because level design is very precious to me. If you make a game,
Yeah.
the level design needs to be good because I can't. I mean, the combat can be great, but you also need that level design to go in there to complement it.
Has to have a fun place to do all of the good gameplay in.
That's one thing.
I thought it cut out. Oh, that was weird.
Oh, yeah, that's one thing I criticize from software games lately, like with Elden Ring, is that their arenas are getting boring now. It's like with Demon Souls and Dark Souls 2, their arenas were really cool. They had obstacles and all kinds of conflict that you could have during battle, and just now they just kind of stopped doing it, and I'm just wondering why. It's just
I think that yeah, no, I get what you're saying on that. Like, I think that with the scope of Elden Ring, I think they somehow wanted to make sure that they could keep the same sort of semi-structured combat. There's some interesting, like some of the open world encounters in Elden Ring, I think work really well. Because of the way that you just kind of stumble across them. It's like, all right, you just ran out into the middle of a lake and a dragon just crashed down. You have 5 seconds before he kills you. What do you do? And that makes for really fun design. But then, yeah, there's other things where it's just like, here's a big round circle. Enjoy. And you're like, hey, where's the gaping dragon arena with like broken pillars and the muck water and, all the gross stuff? Like, where's all the visually pretty design things? I think Ricard's arena is really pretty. Godric's arena is all right. It's kind of a narrow corridor hallway sort of thing outside, I guess, the courtyard. That's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, it's gotten more hit and miss. I wouldn't say it's gotten bad, but definitely more hit and miss than the absolute bangers that they cranked out in like Dark Souls 1, Demon Souls, and stuff like that. Like Iron Golem's arena is a great example of a banger of an arena that kind of complements the boss. And when you realize that he can throw you off the edge, it gets those the mind gears turning. You're like, what if I could throw him off the edge? And that's the Iron Golem cheese. It's not really even that cheesy, I guess, because it's kind of intended, I guess.
I like I think the Clean Rot Knight arena is really cool. The one that's in Learning of the Lakes, where pretty much the majority of the arena is poison. So it's a fun little challenge not to get poisoned while you're fighting the Clean Rot Knight. So yeah, I don't hear enough people talking about that one. I guess because he's too weak and people like to go in and one-shot bosses.
Yeah, there are definitely some bosses that people said, like, man, I really liked this fight, but his health bar was paper mache and I killed him in 3 hits. But I could tell there was a good boss fight waiting under there with a longer health bar.
Well, I keep telling people, I'm like, just use a weaker weapon, but apparently that's not an option for them.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, and that's like not something I could even necessarily fault anybody on. Like, hey, do you want to enjoy the game? Just actively make yourself weaker, Fivehead. It's like, I also like to feel powerful, question mark. Yeah,
well, I mean,
RPGs are about feeling like I am a strong person. I like to be strong. If I wanted to be weak, I'd go and work my 9 to 5 job and feel useless. Bada
Well,
bing.
I mean, one thing you got to remember is that Elden Ring's difficulty is organic. You adjust it according to what kind of challenge you want, and the way that you make it challenging is use weaker equipment.
Yeah, that is true. Like people putting their own level caps, and yeah, the organic and the self-adjustable difficulty depending on what you are choosing to do. But I do still also think that there is some burden on the devs of like, okay, there should be some semblance of like balance and design and progression, regardless of what difficulty you choose on. Like, do you choose to play dual wielding warrior difficulty, also known as very hard, because dual wielding light armor warrior, you've got 0 defenses, your dodging better be on point, or are you going to play mage with consumables, which is also known as easy mode? those are the 2 difficulty options.
Well, that's the
and
Well, see, that's the fun thing about stuff like From Software games is that everybody's got a different experience. I mean, the ones that do blind playthroughs. Of course, you got some people that look up YouTube and just follow directly, but people that just do blind playthroughs, that they always have a unique story through the From Software games, and it's pretty wild what you can actually hear from someone that genuinely experienced the game for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening to this podcast clip. If you want to watch more of the podcast, the full podcast is in the link in the description, along with my guest channel name. And if you would like to guest in a future podcast, please contact me and we shall talk so we can discuss many, many topics, more to come. Other than that, have a glorious day.